As I said after the game, just referring to the last game, it's been a little bit of a repetitive feeling as you come up and why have you gotten beaten? And the inconsistency of our team falls and lies on the head coach. The inconsistency of our offense lies in this case on the head coach. So you look at everything you're doing, we're doing that. But most importantly, we don't lose spirit, we don't lose our work ethic. Not as easy as people might think. When our players are doing everything we're asking them to do, and between school and football, there really is no other time for them. So I'm very proud of their Sundays, of how they approach getting back ready. Obviously, it's Monday, our day off. We've spent a lot of time over the last 2 days now. I've moved forward with Syracuse. Syracuse is a really good football team. Dino Babers does a great job. He's a great coach. They've got a new defensive coordinator with a pretty complex system. Obviously, with offense, they're going to play fast. They're going to spread the field. They've got some good football players, an outstanding quarterback in DeVito. So a big challenge for us. And a year ago, they came down here and spanked us pretty badly. So another big challenge, the fifth ACC game in a row. It is what it is. It's 2020. We're not going to run from the challenge. We are going to run to the challenge, and we look forward to getting on the practice field tomorrow and getting our football team better in every aspect. I'll take your questions.
All right, let's start off with Tom Shanahan.
Hey, Coach, when Jalen scored that special teams touchdown, I thought it might be a spark for you guys that day. But I noticed on the replays, I'm sure you have by now, looking at the film, that he was actually on the ground at the 20-yard line, got back and hustled for the score. Could you comment on that play overall and Jalen specifically?
Yeah, I mean, just great effort, a mentality that you're not going to be denied. We have a term, treat the ground like a hot stove, that as soon as you hit the ground, you get up and you go make something happen. Our team has had intermittent great moments in spirit. I'll be honest with you, our punt team right now is performing at an extremely high level. Doing a lot of things well. Now, I'm not talking about just the snapper or the punter. I'm talking about everybody involved with the punt team. And so Jalen is an exciting young player. He's full of energy. Our freshmen are really leading the way in so many different areas, and I'm excited about that. But we've got to put 22 people out there, whether it's the offense, defense, really 33 if you want to, whatever special teams unit that are playing with that kind of energy. And I'm anxious to see if we can get to that level and get to that level of execution. Great play by him.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, let's go to Aaron Beard.
Hey, David. Last week, you guys cut down on the turnovers. Obviously, not coincidentally, your scoring opportunities went up, and I know everything wasn't perfect, but you had talked about telling the guys or telling us we're so close. How important was it, do you think, after all this ball security talk and so forth, for them to see, like, if they take care of this, you can be right in a game with anybody?
Well, I think it's extremely important, and I do think it had an effect where we took the entire offensive team, and I sat down with them again this week, and we're going to have to get to where all 11 positions, whoever is lining up and playing there, all 11 positions are doing their job. Just do your job. Nobody has to be Superman. You don't have to do more than what's required. You just have to do what's required. And if we take that approach in all of our phases, we'll be just fine. We've got enough good football players to play and win when we play well together, and that's got to be the theme.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Brad Klein.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm okay.
So thanks for taking the time. I'm curious about Chase. What are some of the hurdles that you've seen him have to get past in learning this offense during the pandemic?
Well, I think it's been really difficult for all of our players to deal with the pandemic and the amount of time away from here and how little we returned mid-July and how little time that really is before school started and where we could really practice with them. So it's not easy. Learning a new system, learning a new protection system. Our protection system is going to be one of the more versatile ones that you'll find in football, period. So there's a lot of communication that goes with the quarterback. A lot has to happen quickly at the line of scrimmage. And, I think that's a challenge for any new quarterback. When we say, for example, a quarterback comes to us out of high school, it's the same process. It's very difficult. We've been doing this protection system since I started this about the time Peyton Manning came to Tennessee, and he kept it with him throughout his NFL career. So that's going to settle in. It's going to get better. And then you have to learn the other parts of it. Route concepts and progression reads are really important to us. So we're not going to just give you a primary and say this is where we're going with the ball. And the longer you play in our system, the quicker that mechanics is tough with eyes here, pre-snap read, post-snap read, and then what we call an alarm. That means you got to get it out on time. And so the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it.
So how would you assess the way he's made those adjustments and the way he's picked up those reads quickly during the pandemic, and what can he still improve on going forward?
Well, that's really where we are because of the lack of scrimmage time. Unfortunately, you're scrimmaging against Power 5 football teams. In reality, from what you would do in spring ball and what you would do in summer camp, which we didn't really have a camp. So I think it's an ongoing process, and each week I sit down with him. What are you comfortable with? What are you not comfortable with? Because really what we have to come up with is what the functional part, and that is the quarterback, what is he comfortable with, what pass concept, what protection concept, and then we move it from there.
Coach, thanks a lot. Safe trip to Syracuse. Hopefully you can get some dinosaur barbecue while you're up here, okay?
All right.
Let's go to Jim Sumner.
Hey, David, you mentioned the spanking Syracuse gave your team last year. I know you're not normally a rah-rah kind of guy, but are you showing your team film of that game, or the ways you can leverage that spanking to your advantage this week?
Yeah, well, we haven't really been with our team to show any Syracuse yet. They have it on their iPads. They certainly will look at it. I think a year ago that was a unique game in itself, a real low point for our team a year ago, real low point. And not just a low point after the game, I think really before. I think there were things that we needed to address and we did later. But I do think any football player is embarrassed by poor performance, and they want to respond. They're well aware of what occurred a year ago. But let me tell you about Syracuse. Syracuse is a physical, very aggressive football program, I should say. So if you want to mix it up, they're the ones to mix it up with, and you have to step your game up when you play Syracuse when it comes to physicality and effort.
And let me follow up with a more specific football question, if I may. One of the things that has improved over the last couple of games is Duke's putting some explosives on the field, both from the running game and the passing game. In particular, Jared Garner he was on anybody's radar screen a month ago, and he's that big athletic wide receiver who's making plays that Duke hasn't had from that position for a while. Can you talk about the development of explosives in general, in particular Jared Garner's recovery from his ACL and everything he's doing?
Yeah, let me start with Jarrett. He had a great summer. It was interesting. We would get video of his work because he was in physical therapy all throughout the time he was gone. So we were able to keep him in physical therapy, saw the work that he was putting in, and you could see that it was coming early in camp. He was still tender and cautious. That's a bit of an ongoing process, but he is a big guy that has absolutely outstanding speed. It's great to see that coming. Big-time players can make big-time plays. That's what explosives are. We certainly have them in the backfield. We've got at tight end. We've got it at receiver. But his size, when you walk up next to Jarrett Garner, you're going to be shocked. Anybody is how big a man he is. So it's exciting to see that. We're going to have some matchup opportunities as each week goes by. And one of the things with explosives in the pass game comes with protection. You got to set up great decisions. We have to have great protection. We also have to set up some times where we can hold the ball a little bit with certain types of protection. So a lot of what you go in the planning is where are the explosives going to come from, and then you have to go on the field and execute them. But they're huge in the game of football, no doubt.
All right, let's go to Josh Kendall.
Afternoon, Coach. We hear coaches use the phrase learning how to win or say their team's got to learn how to win a lot. What does that mean to you?
I think that I go straight to the practice field. If you're going to be a winner, and it's why only special people win consistently, it's not just on Saturday. Learning how to win means you know where where the seeds of victory are planted is on a practice field, not a game field. So you go out each day with the same focus. They are focused, executed reps that lead you to being a good football team, that leads you to being a good football player. And that's really all it means to me. I think from a game day perspective, when you're struggling, maybe one of the biggest issues, though, is you're going to give up some big plays. Things are going to happen sometimes that aren't good. You don't want that here we go again mentality to creep into your team. Don't let one mistake become two, would be what I would say is the game day operation of learning how to win.
How do you affect that as a head coach prior to them seeing results on Saturday, particularly not allowing one bad thing to become two, et cetera, when there's been a history of losing?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges you have as a head coach, and particularly in this environment where you don't have as many team meetings. We don't have a place other than at practice to have a team meeting to develop that kind of chemistry. You got two different locker rooms. You circulate that mindset. Your captains have to circulate that. Your coaches have to circulate that. It's a unique time, as I said, that where you take your team and develop those types of mentalities more than just at the hotel on Friday night before a game or Saturday morning before a ball game. And again, I'll go back to the practice field. You have to have a next play mentality. We'll say that. We've also had some other buzzwords that mean, let it go. Move on to the next play. Let's play with energy. We call it treat the ground like a hot stove. Everybody's going to get back up. How fast do you get back up? And so that mentality has to run throughout your program, but I think it's probably been more challenging for me being as entrenched in the offense as I am, and then trying to get time with the team, and you don't have as much time as you normally would get. No excuses, just got to get the job done better.
You say buzzwords. Are those literal things that you have your players say to each other on the field, perhaps, if there's an adverse moment?
Yeah, and we've changed them through the years, whether it's rally or whether it's hot stove or 55, which is one of our mottos. I mean, that circulates at times on the sideline. Pick yourself back up. And so all of those things are a reminder, and we need to be a great teammate. That's one of the ways of being a great teammate is you immediately see opportunities to pick people up if you're a great teammate. And that's one of the things that you have to do as a coach. You got to be the best teammate on the field. You don't have time to hang your head. And we got to move forward. And so this is something that obviously for us right now is a big challenge, but it's also a work in progress, and we've got to get there.
Thanks, Coach.
Uh-huh.
Let's go to Jake Piazza.
Hi, Coach. So Dion and Mateo both got going on Saturday, and I know you guys worked on that at practice last week, and you talked about that a bit in the press conferences. So I'm curious as to what you saw that went right with the run game this week.
Yeah, I think that we adjusted some things with our backs, always looking at the timing mechanism. I think I mentioned that you get an accurate snap. The timing of the run game is there. Run game initially, that in my world was all from under the center. And, you know, what people forget sometimes is the relationship of the ball, not only with, but to the line of scrimmage and the block. If the timing's not there, an offensive lineman can have a great block, but the ball doesn't arrive at the right time or the right place, no chance to be successful. So we're still a work in progress there. I think we were close on so many other plays. You know, I think we can be an outstanding run team. We got a big challenge this week because Syracuse does a lot of things that are unorthodox. And, you know, every week you got to work on something, and we're going to certainly have to work this week. But I think they're enthused about what we can do. And I think Coach Fry is getting more and more time with the guys. And, you know, we want to grow the number of people we can play with up front. So I think we got a really good chance of being a good running football team if we put the work in.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, let's go to Chip Alexander.
Yeah, Coach, can you just discuss for a few minutes just what Noah Gray means to this football team, both in being a reliable receiver and as a upperclassman leader on the team?
Noah, every day we go to practice means more to this team than people might realize. He empties the bucket every day. I've never seen Noah take a rep off or a day off, and his teammates would all tell you that. People are going to listen to your actions by far more than they're going to listen to your words. Noah doesn't say a whole lot, doesn't have to. He's inspirational. He's very talented. He's gifted. He can run, and he's out with the wide receivers getting work, and a great route runner, but he also doesn't mind going in and mixing it up in the line of scrimmage. He can play fullback, he can play tight end, he can play receiver, and he can line up next to a tackle. That's a rare breed of players. So I would say that he doesn't only inspire his fellow teammates, he inspires his coaches, including this one right here. He is a very inspirational young man.
All right, let's go back to Jim Sumner. Jim, you're on mute.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're talking about explosives earlier. One area that Duke hasn't been able to generate any explosives is the kick return, either kickoff or punt return. You've got one of the most dangerous kickoff return players in the country, but he hasn't had any room to operate. What's going wrong there, and how do you fix that?
Well, generally, a lot of it comes from the kickers you face. Hang time and ball placement is one of the most difficult things to try to get the timing right of a kickoff return, and we have faced some really good kickers. So the opportunities haven't been very many. We've also had to rotate through people. Coach Benedict has had a lot of changes in personnel with the injuries and the circumstances that we've had to deal with. So we're not as experienced as we have been on that unit. So the combination of we've got to block it better, but also see a kicker that gives us a kick or two. When you get too much hang time, you're really better off fair catching the ball because there's no way that you can time the blocks and the return out. And we've played 4 really good football teams that all have good kickoff men, 4, ACC Power 5 football teams. So it's always going to be a challenge against that kind of talent.
Let's go back to Aaron Beard.
David, a little bit of a bigger picture question. We've seen a lot of furor at the NFL level about, coaches not wearing masks. Maybe they have them, but they don't ever wear them during a game. You've been wearing a mask. I'm curious kind of how you address that as a priority on your sideline or among coaches or even with yourself and sort of reminding yourself to wear it.
Well, I'm first a believer that it's important to other people. that you wear a mask. More important to other people than it is to you. And I'll go back to April when I had parent meetings on Zoom and player meetings. None of us knew what to expect. We didn't know when they were going to return, under what circumstances they were going to return. But I promised our players and I promised our parents that the number one priority that we would have would be the health and well-being of those young men. And that still is the number one priority. Our protocol has been unmatched. Our discipline level of the players has been unmatched. They're great at wearing masks and staying distanced when you can. Obviously, there's times in football you're not going to be distanced. But when we're in a meeting or just around, that's the way it's going to be. So I've talked with our coaches enough about it, and it's certainly, if our players are disciplined enough to do all of they're doing to stay playing football, why would we not do the same? So I'm going to wear one, and I'm going to keep it up. I don't find it easy. It's not easy to talk standing right here. It's not easy to talk and call plays on the sideline. It's a constant thing that's in your mind. But you know what? Personal discipline is the best way we're going to face anything in life and handle tragic circumstances or tough circumstances. So we're just going to go with it.
David, just to follow up, I've only been to one of your games this year, but are players wearing masks on the sidelines, or is it just staff and coaches? Like, how are you doing that during the game itself?
Players that aren't playing will keep their mask up or their helmet on, which puts them where they have the shield. The other part of it is we have disposable masks they can put on. Now, when you're hydrating and you're drinking, we don't expect them to have the mask up. And if they're having to verbalize something, they're breathing hard, catching their breath, we don't. But we stand back as coaches and we understand that. But we also are tested every single day, not 3 days a week like some people. Every single day, and we get the results. We have been negative this entire time since back in July. So we do trust that value. And so when a guy's having to recover that's been in the game, I'm not going to immediately make them put a mask up, but they all have them. We have the gaiters, but we also have disposable masks for all of them.
Thank you.
All right, we've got time for one last question. We'll go back to Brad Klein.
Hey, Coach, just one more thing. You alluded to the Syracuse defense, the 3-3-5 with the new defensive coordinator before, just a few minutes ago. What kind of challenges does that present for your offense and for Chase specifically, given his skill set?
Well, I think they do a great job of being multiple. They've got really good athletes that they're putting on the field that are very versatile. They got some powerful people up front. And they use their scheme well. They have a lot of ways they can apply pressure, and you have to just stay solid. And, we've seen quarterbacks in their last game, the young Georgia Tech quarterback had a hard time taking care of the football. And so you have to make great decisions and make that a priority against a team like Syracuse.
Spectacular Magazine. We on the scene.